All right, I am J.P. Diener. I'm a litigator here at Beresford Booth law firm in Edmonds, Washington, and I am with my guest, Cissy Jones, a longtime friend of mine. I think our friendship goes back to our early teen years, which was
Yeah,
roughly a decade ago, if I'm
totally.
calculating it correctly, somewhere in that
Yep, this
neighborhood.
sounds right.
Um, and Sissy is she went to college. You went to the University of Oregon, as I recall, at Duck.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
after graduating, at some point, you decided you wanted to try out this voice acting stuff, and have never really looked back.
Yep.
And, yeah, and it's been real successful. And you can hear Sissy as a voice actress in very famous video games such as Baldur's Gate 3, which is one of my favorites, Starfield, um, and also the Walking Dead video games, which I really enjoyed that series. And but you can also see her on Netflix and Disney in shows like Blood of Zeus and Owl House. And you actually won a really big time award, a BAFTA award, for your work on the game Firewatch.
I did
That
somehow.
was what year was that?
Uh, 2017? I think the game came out in 2016, and then the award show was 2017. Yeah.
So yes, that's more BAFTAs than I have won as an attorney, which I don't think they've opened it up to us yet so
We got to
far.
work on that.
We do. I don't know why.
Clearly biased.
I don't know why they don't do that. It's so weird. I'm gonna write a letter. But I have you here today because I want to discuss this new emerging legal issue in your world, which is AI and how this artificial intelligence and the rise of artificial intelligence is impacting the voice acting community. Because I understand it, it's had a pretty significant impact, and we've seen that to some extent recently in the news with Scarlett Johansson's very public fight with OpenAI over the use of
Mhm.
her voice. But it's not just the Scarlett Johansson problem; it's all throughout the industry.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring you in today, because I know you've been pretty active in that whole situation. I mean, it's affecting you guys, and you're out there working to help yourself and others to deal with this situation. So why don't you put it in better words than I did of what it is that you're trying to overcome?
Sure. So a couple of years ago, I started noticing my voice was on multiple websites without my consent, without any control over how it was used, and certainly without any compensation. And I reached out to several of the companies and said, hey, you don't have my permission to have my voice. And some of them were pretty cool about it and took it down. And some of them basically said, we have Section 230, which is the Facebook rule, basically. We don't care. Our users uploaded it, so bye. Um, and that was really a moment when I realized if we don't start banging the drums, we're going to be in serious trouble. So currently, as it stands, there are no guardrails in place around AI or generative AI, no protections for the originating artists, whether it's digital artist or graphic artist or voice artist. There's nothing in place right now to stop AI companies from scraping what is publicly available and calling it their own and using it to profit, which I'm not okay with. And it turns out there's a whole lot of artists in the world who are not okay with. So I've been working with a group called the National Association of Voice Actors, NAVA. We are a nonprofit advocacy group for voice actors and the voice acting community. We originally started as a way to offer access to healthcare for actors who were not in the union or who did not make the union qualifications for healthcare. But real quickly, we got thrown into the AI fight. We have put out online for everybody in the voice acting industry to use a legal writer that they can attach to their contracts. We've been urging everyone to read their contracts, which, as a non-attorney, is not fun. But there are a lot of companies, very large companies, who ostensibly work under a union contract who are trying to sneak language in there that they own our voices from our sessions and can do whatever they want with them in the future with no further consideration for us. Again, not okay with it. So it's been a lot of education. There's been a lot of education that's happening not only in the States but also globally. Nava has been involved in the creation of the United Voice Artists group, which is 16, I think maybe 17 countries. Everybody banding together saying the same thing. We want consent. I need to know that my voice is being turned into a digital replica. We want control, which I will get into in just a moment. And we want compensation. We want fair compensation. A lot of these companies are coming and saying like, "Oh, sure, kid, we'll give you that. How about an exclusive buyout for $5,000, and we own your voice forever. We can do whatever we want, but $5,000, $50,000, right?" And there are a lot of people that sounds really good to until you realize that is the last dollar you will ever make doing this. And when I talk about control, I don't make my money as a voice actor by doing sessions. I make my money by licensing my voice from the sessions, right? So if I go do an ad, lucky me, for Honda, let's say I booked a unicorn. Let's go say I do a 30-second ad for Honda. Let's say on a bad day it takes me 30 minutes to record. I then license my voice to Honda to utilize in their campaigns for a set amount of time in a set region for a set payment. Now, if I have control over my voice, what they say is we get exclusivity. You may not go work for Toyota. You may not go work for GM. Okay,
Right.
great. I'm getting paid good money. I'm going to abide by that rule. Now, if I have an AI version of my voice that I do not have control over, let's say Toyota decides, that new Honda campaign is really successful. You know what we should do? We should take that voice. And suddenly I am in breach of contract.
Mhm.
I am in trouble, in jeopardy of getting sued by Honda for something I had no control over. And there's no recourse for the companies that are doing this.
Right.
So
So,
there
so the
are,
problems are myriad. I mean, it's not
oh
it's
my
not
God,
just like you
it's like
could,
whack-a-mole.
yeah, you just the floodgates are really kind of open here as to the problems that it could cause for you, and ultimately could be devastating to the industry as a whole.
We are very much the canary in the coal mine right now. It's real easy to steal someone's voice. At the beginning of 2022, I believe it was 2022, it took about 10 hours of recorded audio to create a really good double. At the beginning of 2023, it took about 4 hours. And do you want to guess what it takes right now?
Seconds,
3 seconds.
three
It
seconds.
takes your outgoing voicemail message can be used to create a digital version of your voice, which is why we're starting to see these fake calls. We had the Biden robocall. We've got people getting calls from loved ones who've been kidnapped who need $50,000 wired immediately. And it's really believable.
Yeah,
I know people who have gotten calls that their sister has been kidnapped, their child's been in a car accident. It's terrifying, and there's nothing in place right now. So
yeah,
to that end, there is hope.
right.
Um, NAVA, National Association of Voice Actors, through our advocacy work, we've gotten connected with several parties in Washington, D.C. who are working to get some guardrails put up. They're not perfect, but they are a start. Right now, there's nothing in place, especially around voice, because a person has property rights over their name, image, and likeness, but not their voice, because we've never had to.
Right, and I know that there's the Bette Midler case from
Yes.
California from several years ago, where somebody basically stole her song.
Well, they hired a sound-alike
Hmm.
to, they asked her to be on the commercial. She said no. So they hired someone to sound exactly like her and just passed it off. Exactly what OpenAI did, right?
Right.
Although they're claiming they weren't trying to emulate Scarlett Johansson, which I think is bollocks.
Yeah.
To be PC here. What was I saying? Oh yes,
Well, about the Bette
name.
Midler case.
Yeah, so Bette Midler. So what that did in the state of California and the state of New York was it assigned some property rights, but it is not a national law. So
Right.
there are a couple of bills right now that are working through. There's the No Fakes Act in the Senate that's sponsored by Senators Coons, Blackburn, Klobuchar, and Tillis. Very bipartisan. What it does is it protects the voice and visual likeness of all individuals from unauthorized recreations from generative AI, and it holds individuals or companies liable if they produce an unauthorized digital replica of an individual in a performance.
So that
So
would
that
cover
is,
not just voices, that would cover physical, because I've seen even on TikTok and places like that, you see these videos of like Tom Hanks, being in a movie and it sounds like him and it looks like him,
yep,
and obviously is not him.
yep,
But within 5 years, you won't know the difference, right? I mean, that's the reality.
yes. And what's really scary is that is the number one use for that kind of technology right now is pornography, and it is targeting women and children. It's really scary.
Mm.
There's also another act making its way through Congress, and that is sponsored by Representative Salazar and Dean, that reaffirms that everyone's likeness and voice is protected, giving individuals the right to control the use of their identifying characteristics. So what this does is it adds voice to the definition of biometric data, because right now it is not included there because it hasn't had to be.
Right.
It also the No AI Fraud Act, which is the one that's going through the House,
Mm.
empowers individuals to enforce the right against those who facilitate, create, and spread AI frauds without their permission. So these are the two big ones: the No Fakes Act working through the Senate, and the No AI Fraud Act working through the House. And then there are a couple of other bills. Um, uh, Congressman Schiff is trying to pass the AI Labeling Act, so anything that does utilize AI must be labeled as such.
Right.
And then there's another Protecting Americans from Deceptive AI Act that is sponsored by Eshu and Dunn. It's an incredibly bipartisan issue.
Yeah.
The good news is that everybody's talking about it, especially, on Capitol Hill. There's a lot of movement, a lot of conversations happening, but it's the federal government and it moves slowly.
Right. And you were recently in Washington D.C. meeting with some of these folks about these specific pieces of legislation. Is that right?
Yes. So the NAVA president, vice president, secretary, and myself flew out, and we met with 18 different senators and Congress people within the span of 3 days. It is a topic everybody is talking about and everybody wants to talk about. In this current climate where everything is so partisan, this seems to be the one that is really both sides of the aisle, which is hopeful. So,
Right.
you know,
Yeah. That's so you felt after meeting with some of these people, you felt positive?
I did. I think again, there are a lot of people that want to put guardrails in place. When social media came out, right? Everyone thought, "Oh, this is dumb. Who's going to care about, what kids are posting on Facebook?" Cut to now, and it's a very big issue. They
Mhm.
missed the boat, right? There was no foresight in how this weapon could be used, right? If you think of social media just as a tool, right? It is very easily weaponized, and AI is that with a cherry on top. And so there's been a lot of conversations like, listen, we got social media wrong. We have to get AI right. And I am inclined to agree.
Yeah.
This The thing is, I think AI could be an incredible tool. I really think it can. I
Mm.
think it could make so many lives better. Um, I think it could help us in so many ways if we approach it with a human first mindset. If we approach it with a like, oh, we're cutting costs and we're getting rid of all these jobs and all this headcount. I mean, suddenly universal basic income isn't the butt of the joke, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
we've got to figure out something because what are all these people going to do for work?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think there's I think there is a way to move forward with the robots if we
Yeah.
do it, you know, thinking about how this will aid humanity and not just replace it.
Yeah, it seems like it's something that has great capacity for good, but equal capacity for evil. And so regulation is going to be critical in making sure that it is used primarily for good, and we avoid
Yes.
those evil situations. And once the legislation is passed, then the litigators get to step in and start enforcing these things, which will be
Yes.
interesting as well to
I mean,
see
that's
how.
what it's going to take, right?
Right,
Legislation and litigation. Like, let's get
right.
these things going. And right now, a lot of companies are hedging their bets to see what the federal government actually does. So there's all these lawsuits that are just queuing up, just waiting. And then
Hmm.
as soon as there's a critical mass or there's a decision, boom, then we'll start to see all the floodgates open. And so a lot of companies are waiting to employ generative AI because they don't want to be on the wrong side of whichever way the law goes.
Yeah. From a purely academic perspective, it's fascinating to see how this is going to play out, and then being in your position, it's got to be pretty stressful as well. Just
Yeah.
knowing that it's not resolved yet, and it could go any way.
Well, and long-term thinking in AI is like 4 months, right? It is iterating so quickly and it's improving at a breakneck pace. And again, I understand that things take time in the federal government, but we don't have a lot of that. And it's not just voiceover that's going to be impacted. I think every single industry faces mass cuts if AI is employed without any sort of care for the human beings behind the jobs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Every one of us, every one of us is at risk.
Absolutely, and you're going one step further than just meeting with lawmakers, which is in and of itself is a pretty big deal. But you're the CEO of a new startup that's addressing these issues on separately, right?
Yeah. So after I found my voice and got freaked out for a good 5 minutes and then realized, no one's coming to save us. We got to do it on our own. I got together with a group of industry veterans and we have started a company called Ethovox. And what we're working on is doing AI for actors with their consent, making sure they have control, making sure they are compensated, and working the enterprise side of things. So I really don't want to go after publicly available content. I don't want to take work away from working actors, but there's a ton of stuff that is like the audio equivalent of ditch digging that nobody wants to do, right? Like call trees or chatbots or stuff like that. There really is a place that AI could serve humanity, not at the expense of multiple jobs, right?
Mhm.
So I've been working with the industry, the acting industry. People are really supportive and very excited. We've been talking with multiple technology companies. We have a huge deal coming very quickly, um, which is incredibly exciting. And multiple companies, again, that are interested in working with us because we're doing it with the consent of the actors. There's a lot of video game companies that don't want to get on the wrong side of the union, don't want to get on the wrong side of the acting community, and so they're like, this is the only one we've seen that's actually doing it right. Um, so yeah, it's a lot of work. I haven't slept in a very long time, JP. Um,
Yeah.
but it's going well. It's if not me, then who, right?
Right. Right. Well, it's exciting. I think it's an important undertaking that you're doing, and I know that it's going to have a big impact on this industry. And we'll stand by and wait to see where it goes. We will stand by. You will not stand by. You are right in the midst of everything. So I certainly appreciate you stopping by, having this chat with me, and just helping get the word out there about what's going on with AI, because a lot of people I don't think fully grasp the implications of what we're dealing with, and it's not just going to be voice actors. It's going to be a lot of different industries that are ultimately affected by what AI is capable of, and you guys are right at the front lines at this point in time. But it's going to affect many industries before it's all said and done, I think. So
Yes, it will.
just
Yes, it will.
appreciate everything you're doing to lead the charge and get some guardrails in place. And again, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yep, absolutely. We'll talk to you again soon.
Right.